poetry.
This is where the stars align, with the buttery sourdough, that decadent, elegant outer flow. Beef patty char-broiled in the bacon, awaken the senses. Each bite is perfection. I'm blessed when they summon the onions and dressing. The cheese is a flex, all the flavors so fresh. This is where I wanna be, where the taste is straight harmony.
The new sourdough star at Carl's Jr. Feed your happy. Available for limited time at participating Carl's Jr. restaurants. Price and participation may vary. I wasn't able to sleep in my own bed. Because of my wife's struggles with CPAP, I had to move out to the couch, out to the recliner, out to my son's bunk bed. That is until she started Inspire, having a treatment that works inside her body with just the click of...
Back to sleeping in your own bed with Inspire. No mask, no hope, just sleep. To learn more, visit InspireSleep.com. Inspire, sleep apnea innovation. Inspire is not for everyone. Talk to your doctor to see if it's right for you and review important safety information at InspireSleep.com.
Ever since Donald Trump refused to accept that he lost the presidential election, national Republicans have been attacking election results and voting rights in states across the country. Now they've got their sights set on a power grab in California, abusing the democratic process with a recall that will cost taxpayers hundreds of millions, so they can derail California's progress and take our state backwards. Who's behind this partisan scheme? Big Trump donors, big oil companies, anti-vaxxers, and some of the same right-wing extremists who attacked the Capitol on January 6th, bankrolled by the Republican National Committee. Here's how we stop them. Every California voter will get a ballot in the mail for the September 14th special election. Vote no to protect California and our democracy. Vote no to stop the Republican recall of Governor Newsom. It's a partisan power grab. Ad paid for by Stop the Republican Recall of Governor Newsom. Committee major funding from Reed Hastings and SEIU Local 2015.
Relationships, your energy level, and how you feel as a man. So I want to tell you about Revive Men's Health. With a range of non-invasive treatments that are clinically proven to effectively treat ED and low T, Revive Men's Health will create a plan tailored for you, one that works for you, because every man has a unique physical makeup. Revive Men's Health specializes in affordable custom treatments. Whether you need to raise your game at work, feel leaner and more energetic, or regain your confidence in your relationship, Revive Men's Health can help. Revive has successfully treated tens of thousands of patients, and they're ready to help you. Call Revive Men's Health at 916-277-8599 for a personalized and confidential consultation today. That's 916-277-8599. Or, to learn more, visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Hello, California. Switching to Geico is a good idea, especially when you consider everything.
First off, Geico makes it easy to switch, and you can contact your local agent for personalized assistance.
But having a trusted insurer in your life could make you feel so secure that you'll want to do something dangerous like run through a cactus patch, and that never ends well.
Well, if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds on car insurance, and you could keep saving by bundling your motorcycle, boat, and RV, plus your home or renter's insurance.
But saving money might make you want to giggle gleefully, and when your mouth's open, a stray acorn could fall in there. It happens a lot, actually.
Well, they do have an industry-leading mobile app you can use to pay your bill, file and manage a claim, or add a new driver. And they offer discounts to military and federal employees.
And that might make you so happy that you start whistling all the time. Who likes whistling? Name one person.
Well, Geico is the second largest car insurer in the country and has been saving people money for 85 years. It's hard to beat that.
But you're right.
Switch to Geico. It's obviously a good idea.
Now that today's singles buy one get one for $1, as well as the spicy or classic chicken sandwich and the spicy or crispy 10-piece nuggets, Wendy's BOGO for $1 deal is gonna blow your mind and your speakers. Get these faves. BOGO $1 only at Wendy's.
Limited time only. Price and participation may vary. Valid for item of equal or lesser value. Cannot be combined with combo or any other offer.
Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports. Coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good boys around the country, I want to say bienvenido to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, we love you in Canada and Africa, the Big C tribe, but there's no one we love more than the good old boys around the country, in the land of the free and the home of the brave, on a beautiful August the 9th, 2021. Grande Deportes, bonjour, de vini vici. I want to say hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I really appreciate everything that's going on in this beautiful country. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers. Home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, just tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars. Also, all around the world, just say Google or Alexa play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce myself as the sports universe all over this country, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. If it's better to have a smart TV, or you'll be looking at a still picture. Man, I'm learning to pause because I've had about 3 hours of sleep in the last 48 hours, all fair and love and war. I'm learning how to pray better. It's like prayers come true more when you get exhausted. So I'm praying that everybody will reach out to our veterans by calling the crisis hotline. If you know any veterans that need help, 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. If you can text, a lot of people like to text now. You just text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. You could definitely get some help for our veterans. Also, very happy to be affiliated with Valley, home with weekly TV, on Dish TV, Direct TV, AT&T Uverse, TV of the San Francisco Giants, and it's the first place San Francisco Giants, and the Say Hey Kid, as well as the home run king Barry Bonds. When you reach out to him, just tell him Charlton wants World Series tickets. It's all fair, level war. The Giants won the pennant. The Giants won the pennant. The Giants won the pennant. Yeah, I want World Series tickets. Our goal is simple: recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this great country, helping to put their property listings on TV, just like McDonald's does it, Nike does it, car dealerships are doing it, sports teams are doing it. Watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. Most of the loans are underwritten by Rocket Mortgage, the #1 lender in the country on the wholesale side. And also, when you need a loan, don't just be sure, be Rocket Sure, all fair and level war. Also, I want to say all around the universe, think about this when I'm going to say this to you, because it's true. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight for presenting Big C Sports to the universe, just like in Genesis 1:3. God said, let there be light. Open your cell phones and say it. Play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see all of our apps pop up all over the world. That's all over the world. That means all over the universe. And I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. If you want to know more about Big C, again, I want to thank Zariah Matthews for casting Big C Sports for our 2021 Espy's. And that's going to happen. I really appreciate that. For all of you people voting for who's going to win an Espy, whether it's Big C Sports, whether it's ESPN, whether it's Stephen A. Smith, whether it's Colin Cowherd, whoever it happens to be out there, I want to ask every one of us, ask who's doing the show, impromptu, no script, no producer, no microphone in your ear, no teleprompter that's going to fail or tell me what to say. I do my show for my higher self, for my knowledge, doing my own research. I do it by myself. I'm flying solos, all fair and love and war. Because God said, let there be light. So I'm letting my light shine. Also, this show is sponsored by the greatest, I want to say the greatest alcoholic beverage in the universe. Budweiser Zero. It has 0% alcohol, 100% on your game. All fair and level war. It goes great with the Big C burger. It is a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats, and it goes great with the Budweiser Zero. I think I had some exotic meats this weekend. I ate some fast food. Most people know a well-cooked meal is better than fast food, but I've been doing a lot of thinking lately, and a lot of avoiding, mouse traps. That makes sense to you. A lot of black men know what it means to avoid a mouse trap because they're set all the time by mainstream. But you got to avoid them because you can be clean as a whistle. And some people want to make up shenanigans because it's worked for us since 1619 that oftentimes African Americans have to deal with shenanigans. But no, it's not going to work because Isaiah 54:17, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. I want young black men to know that going to school. Advice from a wise person: stop being on bad terms and at odds with people you love. Some people will come to create strife in your life. Unlike the $6 billion that my partner and I are creating, and typewriters all over the country can go off about that. I want to talk about some things going on in sports. But before I get into sports, we have the Olympics. We have the NFL, college football. It's absolutely amazing. I want to bring up something that's so important because I think it affects every young black child. There's a song that I want everyone to Google. I know you're not wearing a uniform at times. I know you're not hitting a home run. You're not scoring a touchdown, home run, 3-point play. I know you're not doing that. There's a song by the late, great Luther Vandross. It's called Dance With My Father. It's about what he wished he could have done with his father while his father was still alive. Oftentimes, people don't pay attention to the people who bring them into the world until they're gone. So there are things that I want to do as Big C Sports. I want to reach out to men and women about shenanigans, about not being at odds with people you love, not robbing and stealing from people that you love. And when you know something's being done wrong, like the great late John Lewis said, do something, say something. Don't just sit there and act like you don't know what happened, because next time it might be you. I'm going to take what's called the Big C pause, and when I come back, I'm going to say something to the young black boys heading off to school, because I was one of them. In the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. All right, I'm back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports, and this is why we're going to win the Espy'S in 2021. You can follow Big C Sports on iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Podtracer. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity Comcast TV. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple TV. You can follow Big C Sports on Roku TV. You can follow Big C Sports on so many other Apple applications, Amazon Fire TV. You can follow all of that. How does one person doing this thing every day, never miss a day since September 12, 2015, never miss one day, even through some of the toughest days of my life. And a lot of people are on vacation. I've been on vacation too. My vacation happens when I sleep, but I even work in my sleep. All spirit, love, and war, and people can tell you I keep the radio on. My dad always kept the radio on too. Please, everyone, listen to the song Luther Vandross. It's called Dance With My Father. If you're fortunate enough to still have a father around, someone who loves you, someone who picked you up and held you when you were born, held you up to the universe. No matter what he had to go through, he made sure that he held you up high, and he let you stand on his shoulders. And sometimes, as you grow up as a black father, you realize this country sometimes is directed against you. Carter G. Woodson, Miseducation of the Negro. I ask every man to read that. I want to talk about sports. I want to talk about relationships. I want to talk about sex and race in sports, also in the military. You got to really know, as a coach once said to me, and even you heard it in a movie, it was Top Gun. It was about a military movie. It was in Top Gun, Tom Cruise, I think his name was Ice, or no, his name was Maverick. His name was Maverick. I'm begging my pardon. And there was a team member, I think his name was Goose, but I might be wrong. One was played by Val Kilmer. And he said, hey, you might not like you. Your teammates may not like you. You may not like them. But whose side are you on? You got to know whose side you're on. There's something that I want to bring up in sports. Knowing who's really on your team matters. In black and white surveys that I conducted over this weekend, this is live interviews. I talked to black and white people, men and women. And would you believe, and I talked to couples, and listen up, sports guys, I talked to some couples, and I talked to some coaches. In fact, he's a baseball analyst on ESPN. I'm not going to bring up his name, but I know some people that he's very, very close to. He's a great player, played with many teams. He's an analyst on ESPN. I'm not going to bring up his name because I don't have permission to. But the conversation is, who's on your team? And talking to some random people, I talked to men and women, and I said, if you're on a football team, basketball team, baseball team, you may not like all of your teammates. In fact, your teammates may not like you. But at the end of the day, whose side are you on? You can see it now in football and basketball and baseball. We just crowned the NBA basketball champion, Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I call him King Giannis Antetokounmpo, like in Wakanda. But mainstream call black men freaks. But there was a gentleman in Japan that made a joke about the Holocaust, an anti-Semitic joke, and they fired him. If he would have told a joke about black freaks, they would have said, hey, congratulations. Think about that. All lives came from Africa. So if you're on a team and you pass the ball to the wrong player, meaning the guy in the wrong uniform, Georgetown versus, I believe it was North Carolina back in the day. Michael Jordan was at college, I believe. If I'm not right about that, it was Patrick Ewing. I know it was one of those teams. Maybe it's Patrick Ewing. But North Carolina and Georgetown was playing a game, and the ball was passed to the wrong player. The late John Thompson, he gave the player that made the mistake a hug. He didn't ridicule him. He didn't threaten to kick him off the team. He didn't say, you blippity blip, blankety blank. He didn't say, you cost us the blap, blap, blap championship. And speaking of that, I want to pay homage to the Bobby Bowden family, one of the greatest college football coaches in the universe. The great Bobby Bowden went on to meet his maker. And I just want to say my thoughts and prayers are really with the Bobby Bowden family. I never met Bobby Bowden, but he was a great man. A lot of athletes said so. They were better men because they met the great Bobby Bowden and was able to be mentored and tutored by him. I want to go back to the sports metaphor. There was a time when Chris Webber called timeout. Michigan was playing in March Madness. Called timeout. They didn't have a timeout. I think they were playing North Carolina of all teams. At the end of the day, the coach didn't say, you blippity blip, bloppity blop. He didn't say, you're off the team. You're fired. He didn't say that. He gave Chris Webber a hug because he made a mistake. As I was talking to some of the people random that I met around the country, Northern California, over the weekend, there's some scenarios that came up where a husband and wife were having some differences. And so one of the members called a friend and had that friend harass and threaten her own spouse. So the spouse goes and asks the spouse to, hey, let me show you what your friend is doing. Would you put a stop to it? And the spouse said no. He said, wait a minute. If a man was threatening you, do you think I would tell that man to stop? And the spouse said, I'm not doing anything. So the man feels that he's being threatened with bodily harm, and police have the report. I'm saying this because young black men, you got to know that sometimes people who don't want to be on your team, they try to get you incarcerated. There's a thing called playing the race card, where some white women feel that they can call the police, we've seen it on videos, manufacture whatever went on, and they think that mainstream police is going to show up and arrest that black man or shoot that black man who doesn't have a criminal record, never been arrested. I'm talking real talk. And I'm saying this to young black boys. Listen to the song by Luther Vandross. It's called Dance With My Father. You can also listen to Mary J. Blige's No More Drama. Because sometimes if you don't have a father in your life or a mother in your life that can keep you away from harm, then you may become subject to the criminal justice system. I'm saying, I know you want to watch the game. I know you want to know who won the game, who hit the home run. Touchdown, home run, 3-point play. I know we want to hear that. We want the crowd going nuts. But I want to know who's on your team. And young black men, you got to know this because we're the most incarcerated group of people in the United States of America. And oftentimes, the people that put you and your sons behind bars, they do not look like you. And mainstream knows this. That's why black boys are 10 times to 1 to be more expelled from school than a white kid. Mainstream knows this. That's why black boys are 7 times to 1 more likely to be incarcerated than a white man for the same crime. And mainstream knows this. And because they know this, there was a lady in New York City a while back, maybe a year ago. She had her dog in the park and the dog was not on a leash. She's a white lady. There was a black man that simply asked her to put her dog on the leash because he felt unsafe. The lady said, no, I'm not putting my dog on a leash. Just like the spouse that asked his spouse to call your friend and have your friend stop harassing me with these threatening messages. So threatening that police took a police report. The spouse said no. So this young couple in the park in New York City, the white lady called the police on the black man. They showed up. At the end of the day, they let him go. and the lady was issued a citation. I think she lost her job. There was also an incident in, I want to say on the East Coast, it could have been Boston, where there was a couple of black men trying to buy coffee. And it was reported that they looked suspicious. You know how people look to buy coffee, they look suspicious, they have clothes on. They didn't bother the white people, they bothered the black people. Police came and asked the people to leave. It made the news. Even the great Oprah Winfrey not too long ago, she was at an expensive store looking around, and they did not want to serve her. They didn't know who she was until later revealed, but they were serving white people. Just over the weekend, I was in the store. I had a $100 bill at a grocery store, and I gave the lady my $100 bill for the groceries. They ran the money through a scanner. They held it up as if they were trying to look at it to the moon. And then she took a little, some type of marker and marked on it to see if it were counterfeit or not. And I stood there as they were taking change after change from white Americans buying food. I must have stood there about 3 minutes. That's after I gave her the money. After I gave her the money. Touchdown! Home run! 3-point play! From being cheered in a uniform to being questioned about, is my $100 bill real? And she said, well, it's our policy to scan money and everything. I said, that's fine. Where does it say that in writing? She said, I can get to my manager. I said, no, I'm asking you a question. Where does it say that in writing? I just want to be treated fair. Long story short, there was about several white people that went through getting changed, and I'm sitting there as a black man, dressed nicely, and they're giving me a colonoscopy to see if I can get money, or if my money's good enough. I just came from the bank. So what does this have to do with the dance with my father? What does this have to do with race and sports and relationships and sex in the United States? Because for young black men that go off to school, sometimes you're going to realize when you don't have a uniform on and you're not doing touchdown, home run, 3-point play, you become a suspect. It's a fact. I don't want that to happen. So I want to use it as a teaching moment with Big C Sports. I'm even doing a book called Big Business, Race, and Sports. There's a pastor that used to be Fred Casey Price. He did a series on race, religion, and racism. He since passed on earlier in the year. But he talked about how things are different. There's a book that I want people to read by John Howard Griffith. It's called Black Like Me. It was about a study during Jim Crow when a white man put on blackface and he went about the South trying to just live like a regular citizen, and he gave so much harassment. They treated him like he was an ogre, like he was an outsider. And people think, well, that's back in the day. That's in the days of Jim Crow. Just recently in Michigan, there was a black realtor who was showing a house to another black family. Would you believe the police showed up because some white neighbors called the police, said he looked suspicious? A lot of realtors wear kind of a polo shirt with khaki pants. Or sometimes, they don't all wear a suit and tie, they wear polo shirt, khaki pants. Well, someone called police and they actually detained him and made him prove that he was really a real estate agent. This is in 2021. I guess if he was touchdown, home run, 3-point play, they would have cheered him like we're getting ready to cheer people playing football. I don't know what's going on in Deshaun Watson's case, but he's out there practicing again with the Houston Texans. But Bob Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, you know, the judge threw those tapes away of the prostitution. One's white, one's black. One's on videotape, one's not. One's still being subject to suspension by the NFL, the other's getting ready for some football. Are you ready for some football? One's white, one's black. Google it. So for young black kids, the relationships of it all, playing team sports can enhance relationship skills. But going back to the couple where a woman allowed one of her friends, so-called friends, to threaten her family, that means her husband and her children, with bodily harm, legal harm, to bring calamity to her family. I want to juxtapose that to some of the women and men that I surveyed over the weekend. There's a person that I know that went to a zoo. Do you know you can't go into a bear's den and bother the bear's cubs because the bear would tear you to pieces? You know you couldn't go into a lion's den and bother the lion's cubs because that lion would tear you to pieces? You know there are some women who will invite a snake into their house in the relationship to destroy their children. There was a story I was told. I know you want to hear touchdown, home run, 3-point play. But I'm trying to save some black kids who haven't had the chance to listen to Luther Vandross Dance with My Father or Mary J. Blige, No More Drama. There's a story about a 2-year-old. She was in the crib, and unbeknownst to the parents and the 2-year-old, a rattlesnake got into the crib. Maybe they were camping in Yosemite or so, Yellowstone National Park someplace. Rattlesnake gets into the crib, the baby starts crying. Help, 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 mommy, help, mommy, help, help, help. Mommy's like, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong? The baby said, there's a snake, there's a snake, there's a snake. The mother says, oh, well, toughen up, get used to it. But mommy, I'm scared, mommy, I'm scared, mommy, I'm scared. The mother says, well, toughen up. The baby says, mommy, will you get me out of the crib with the cage with the snake? The mother says, no. So the daughter says, daddy, 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 help, daddy, help. Daddy says, what? What's wrong? What's wrong? She said, there's a snake in the crib. Daddy runs to the baby, 2-year-old baby, picks her up out of the crib to make sure she's not bitten by the snake. And the mother says, why'd you take the girl out of the crib? She was sleeping. The snake wasn't going to bite her. It was just trying to scare her. Why'd you take your child out of the snake's mouth? Why did you take your child out of the snake's path? The snake was only trying to scare her. And some people provide less protection to their own children than a bear or a lion will provide to their cubs. We'll take the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. In the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. All right, we are back from the Big C timeout, also known as the Big C pause. And this is why Big C Sports' Charlton Curry will win an Espy in 2021, according to Disney representative. The only sports show in the universe that's not scripted. We don't use teleprompters. I don't use a producer in my ear. I don't have 5 people working giving me fat stacks of information. My son Malcolm gives me a lot of stats. Sometimes Big C even gives me some stats. But I do it on my own. I've never missed a day. This is why Charlton Curry with Big C Sports will win an Espy in 2021. I don't care who you are, whatever sports show there are out there. I challenge one of them to do a show on their own without having several people calling in. And I do that sometimes, but I'm saying on my own, don't have 4 or 5 people sitting on the stage to help fill in time. I don't have 4 or 5 people calling in to help me fill in time. I do it on my own, impromptu with my higher self. The universe is where I get my knowledge, but I Google everything and I research. A lot of it's just knowledge that I've had over the years. I have the diction, I enunciate well, so that you can tell I'm not illiterate, I'm not an idiot. And some people get offended when you say, don't be an idiot or illiterate, but I was taught by my parents to read and be proud of reading. It's fundamental. But I want to go back to this before I bring in some sports in the second half, or as some golfers say, on the back nine. Before I get to the back nine, I'm talking about young African-American kids listening to Google the song Dance with My Father by the late Luther Vandross and realize a father's advice or a mother's advice can keep you safe. Back to that story about the couple where one spouse would not even protect her husband. She let a rattlesnake in to try to bite her family with threats and innuendos and targets so egregious that law enforcement filed a report. That's a fact. And as I talked to several couples over the weekend and asked those couples, if a spouse and a spouse's friend are together and your spouse's friend sends threatening messages to your spouse, there's a question for everybody in the universe. If you're in a relationship and your partner or your spouse has a friend, even though they have a criminal record, that I found out, if they send threatening, harassing messages to you and you bring it to your spouse's attention, who would defend the spouse and who would defend the friend? 100% of the time, the couple said they would defend the person they're in the relationship with. Again, I only asked 12 people, but that's still 100%. I only know of one time where the spouse did not defend the other spouse. You make the call. And then to have person after person coming by, ruining their own weekends, for whatever shenanigans, trying to cause up strife. Because mainstream knows, like the woman in New York City at the dog park, you could be a white lady and not have your dog on a leash, and a black man could come and say, ma'am, could you please put your dog on the leash? She knows she can call the police, and they'll show up looking to arrest the man who's just afraid of being bitten. Even though she later lost her job, all because it came out on videotape. There's a black man, a realtor in Michigan. He was showing a house to a black family. Mainstream called the police. Said there was a suspicious looking people in the house. Mainstream called the police on a black realtor, saying he looked suspicious. It's all out there on the internet. You believe they showed up? They showed up and put handcuffs on him until he proved that he was a realtor. It's a true story. I know you want to see touchdown, home run, 3-point play. We'll do that on the back nine. Even in my own neighborhood, I had some family members having a birthday party a couple years ago playing Ding Dong Ditch, where teenagers ding the doorbells and run around. 8 years old to 13 years old. They're just kids. They're not breaking anyone's house. And even some neighbors, they do what's called the TP someone's house with toilet paper. They did that. Nobody called the police on those white kids. But the kids in my home were black. And 3 police cars pull up on my house. And one of my neighbors was white, who happened to be beating his white wife, later to be known, as she came to my house asking for help. I told her, no, go back to your husband. They surrounded my house. I came outside so they wouldn't come inside and accidentally shoot somebody. And I asked them, can I help you, officers? 3 squad cars. They said, yeah, your neighbor feels that someone was breaking into his house and running back to your house. I said, well, I apologize. My nephews told me they were playing Ding Dong Ditch. They did it to several houses, and I told them don't do it again, and they apologized. And so I apologized that happened. That shouldn't have happened. I said, however, we have neighborhood watch here. I'm one of the first residents in this gated community. And I knew the neighbor. I said, come here, sir. He was walking outside. I said, come here a second. I said, first of all, I want to apologize that my teenage relatives were knocking on your door and running and playing Ding Dong Ditch as they did to other neighbors. And he said to me, this white man said, oh, well, I didn't know they were with you. I said, well, I've lived here long before you. I've even said hi to you and your wife. Why didn't you give me the courtesy to come by and just tell me someone's knocking on your door and running and they're coming to my house? That's what good neighbors do. And he dropped his head and said, yeah, I'm sorry. And I said to the neighbor, I said, this is not necessary. And the white police officer said, well, it is necessary. He tried to engage me in some type of shenanigan, a confrontation. I said, no problem, officer, it won't happen again. And I said, neighbor, it won't happen again. You have a good night. And so I said, do I have permission to go? They said, yeah. They didn't take a report, but they were there for like 15 minutes. Even after the white man said he was sorry. So I'm telling young black boys, read Luther Vandross, listen to the song, Dance with My Father, because it talks how a father protects the son, especially when you're going off to college on your own. You got to know who's on your team. Michael Jackson said it doesn't matter if you're black or white. That was not true. That was a lie. Read the color of the law. Read the Kerner Commission. It matters even in relationships. Because out of 12 people that I surveyed to ask couples, if a couple had a friend that's a snake and a person with a record threatened the other spouse or partner, would they side with their partner that they live with or with the friend? And only one person said they decide with the friend. You make the call. Most people said they would side with the spouse. One person said they would side with the friend, and never, ever, ever had any police activity among them. But the friend that got the backup, police report. As studies have suggested, sports can lead to more than just the physical health of a child's life. It removes anxiety and depression in girls while improving academic performance in boys. And sports also have the power to strengthen a child's social skills, particularly their ability to build healthy relationships. You know, like believing your spouse is going to defend you when someone's threatening you, when someone's threatening you with bodily harm. How would any wife feel if the wife had a husband and that husband had a friend that threatened to do bodily harm to his wife? And the wife shows the husband the threatening text messages that went on for 3 days. And the wife asked the husband to put a stop to it. And he said, no, I'm not doing anything. He's just a friend playing game. He's just being silly. He's just playing. The wife said, but I feel threatened. And the husband says, I'm not doing anything for you. That's my friend. So the wife goes down and files a police report. The police realize it is a threat. They take it serious enough to put a blog together and a report together. And then imagine the husband getting pissed off at the wife and saying, why did you call the police? He was just threatening to hurt you. He didn't really mean it. Only one person out of 12 protected the snake. You couldn't even get 1 out of 12 bears to allow their bear cubs to be threatened. You couldn't get 1 out of 12 lions to allow their lion cubs to be threatened. But sometimes human beings, you can threaten them, their spouse, and their families. We'll take the Big C pause. In the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. All right, we're back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps you can follow, and I really do appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. Winner of the 2021 Espy'S Award, according to Disney's Uriah Matthews. Really appreciate that. We're the only sports show in the universe that does our show extemporaneously. There's no teleprompter. There's no producer in my ear. And some people might say, well, that's obvious. It's all fair in level war. They just want to hear touchdown, home run, 3-point play. I understand. So for those of you who say, yeah, that's obvious, no producers, you do it yourself. It's one thing to criticize, but do it yourself. I challenge everyone that's getting those 7-figure contracts, all of your sponsors, have your top-rated shows. I don't care who it is. Have them do a show, no producer. Have them do a show, no writer, no production crew, no person in their ear, no one doing the lighting, no one doing the sound effects, no one doing the editing. I produce, I write, I host, I direct, I do sound effects, I edit, I do all of that stuff. And been doing it for a long, long time. That's why Big C Sports, according to Disney, would be a winner of a 2021 Espy's. And all I say is everyone channel me. Don't use a script, don't use a teleprompter, speak impromptu, and know your stuff. Know your stuff and do it. And I challenge every young person to get into the business and not be afraid to try to make your dreams come true. You're not going to please everybody, but you can please those who are understanding that this is a tough business. You got to really know how to do it. If you can't do it, it's like being able to go into an arena and you're wondering how you're going to play the game, how you're going to win the game. Everybody knows you got to stand up for yourself. You only get one shot. That's what I love saying. The pitch. Hit deep. Right field. Back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friend. You've been hearing the mothership do what Big C Sports has been doing over the last couple of weeks. When I go the baseball home run fence, it's all fair in level war. It's called Hit Deep. I've been doing that. Tonight's Major League Baseball schedule for a beautiful August 9th, 2021, Cincinnati at Cleveland, and pitching West Justin Garza. At the bat, watch Jesse Winker. I'm not going to give out what they did, but it's just a clue, like hiding Easter eggs. I'm giving you a little bit of clue on what to look for in Big C Sports. Going to our next game. The pitch. Hit deep. Right field. Back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friend. That's the great Al Pacino, Tony Montana, Scarface. Milwaukee Brewers, they are 34-19 on the road. Chicago Cubs, they are 31-24 at home. Pay attention. The pitcher for the Brewers is Freddie Peralta. That good boy has a 2.21 ERA. I'm telling you, he's a Jedi Knight from Star Wars, trained by the great Obi-Wan Kenobi. Darth Vader knows what I'm talking about. So does Luke Skywalker. And then pay attention to Alec Mills, also the pitcher for the Cubs. He has a 4.41 ERA. Not a Jedi Knight training, but when you look at what the Brewers did, they're 66-46 on the season. The Cubs are 52-61. You make the call after who's going to win. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friend. All spread level war, the New York Yankees. They are 29-25 on the road. They're doing better. They're playing at the Royals that are 48-62. They're only 28-25 at home. The Yankees are making some noise. You know, who's that great Kenny Rogers that you gotta know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to hit deep. Right field, back to the wall. Maybe that's not what he's saying, but you get the gist of it. The Yankees doing their thing on the mound. Jameson Talon, he is 4.04 ERA, pretty decent, 7-4 on this season. Carlos Hernandez at home for the Royals. He's only a 4.58 ERA, nothing to write home about, but it's all fair and level. We're also more Major League Baseball. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friend, the great Al Pacino, paying homage to Al Pacino. Charlton with Big C Sports, one of the greatest actors in the universe, the great Al Pacino. Say hello to my little friend. If my little friend shows up at the ballpark, he's not trying to be nice. He's fanning people, but he's using an AK-47. He's not using a pitch with stickum on it. The White Sox 28-26 on the road. The great Tony La Russa doing his thing. The Twins are only 24-30 at home. So you make the call on that one. And then Lucas Giolito on the mound for the White Sox, 3.98 ERA. And Bo Burrows on the mound for the Twins. His ERA is 11. How does he make a Major League Baseball lineup? It's all fair and level work. Like he said, you come out here and try to throw 98-mile-per-hour fastball. All fair and level work. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friend. All fair and level work. The Miami Marlins are 20-38 away. They're at the San Diego Padres that are 38-23 at home. So you make the call on that one. Pay attention to the pitchers. Zach Thompson for the Marlins. He has a 2.53 ERA, but he's only 2-4 in the season. You look at Joe Musgrove for the San Diego Padres. He has a 2.87 ERA. That good boy went to Jedi Knight training school, but he's only 7-7 on the season. I still like the Padres in that. It's all about how well the San Diego Padres can play baseball. You know, it's a short schedule today for Major League Baseball, but there's a lot of good things going on in the sports universe. Big C Sports winner of a 2021 Espy'S. Also the $6 billion, my partner, the Noah's Ark. Everyone needs an ark in their life. You got to have an ark in your life to help you win. Because having an ark is how Noah brought all the meat in the game for the Big C Burger to the New World. It's a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats. You only know about it through Big C's. You got to be invited. It's like going to the White House, meeting with the president. You got to be invited to meet with the president. You can't just show up and say, hey, man, we were just driving through, decided to stop in and see how you're doing, Mr. President and Vice President. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, all fair in level war. Oftentimes, athletes will go to the White House and they'll have a chance to shake the president's hand, do a photo op, and all the things that make going to the White House more memorable. I know we have the barricades up at the White House keeping people safe. Didn't really work during the insurrection. Does race matter? If the insurrection happened by black men charging the nation's capital, would have been more of a problem. The Million Man March that was staged by Louis Farrakhan, I want to say 1985. Jesse Jackson was also there. They had 1 million men come to Washington seeking atonement. These 1 million men were chastised and ridiculed by mainstream media. What are all these black people getting together talking about atonement? What do you mean working together? We've done everything we could to divide and conquer you guys. A lot of mainstream white women know that. So they think they can threaten you and call the police on you and accuse you of a crime you did not commit. I even know of some couples that say, I could call the police on you. I'm white, you're black, who are they going to believe? I'm telling young black men, if it's not hit deep, right field, home run, touchdown, three-point play, oftentimes you're just a target. People can say, I love you, Charles. I love you. Will you sleep with me? No one has to know but me and you. Now get the hell away from me. Because they turn on you. And they know it's true. Olympic medal count 2021. This is why Big C Sports will win an Espy in 2021. Because I keep it real. Like my mama says, tell the truth shall set you free. You rise and shine. If you are a thief and you are with the people who are robbing a bank, you become an accomplice. Why in the hell would you go to jail for somebody instead of saying give the money back? Olympic medal count 2021. Final table of gold, silver, bronze medals in overall standings. After the coronavirus forced the Tokyo Olympic Games to go on pause, we have it now. You know, I just want to say to everybody out there, pay attention to what we do or what I'm doing on Big C Sports. My son Malcolm helps me with a lot of stats as he gives me stuff over the weekend. Big C used to do it also. It's all fair and love and war. Sometimes you're born into this world on your own. You got to do things on your own. You rise and shine. If I didn't show up, there'd be no Big C Sports. If I didn't show up, there'd be no 7-figure contract coming to Big C Sports in 2021. If I didn't show up, there'd be no reason for backers to give me 7 figures to do Big C Sports. Olympic count, gold medal. Again, I thank the great August Wesley for being on Big C Sports podcast with his son Anthony Wesley Jr. Cabo Verde, representing that country, born out of the United States. Well, the medal count for gold, United States is number one. Number one. We're number one. We're number one in the universe. All fair and love and war. 39 gold medals, followed by China, 38 gold medals. Japan, 27 gold medals. Great Britain, 22 gold medals. Australia, 17. Netherlands, 10. France, 10. Germany has 10 gold medals as well. You know, United States bailed them out. The Marshall Plan after World War II. Black Americans still asking for reparations in 2021. Google it. Italy, 10. Canada, 7. Brazil, 7. New Zealand, 7. Cuba, 7. And Hungary, 6. In fact, I'm hungry. I'm hungry for the Big C burger. It is a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats. It goes great with the Budweiser Zero. Proud sponsors of the Big C Sports Podcast. It has 0% alcohol, 100% on this game. All fair and love and war for all the great Olympians, all the great athletes. So many people are doing their things in the sports universe to make their dreams come true. Like my friend Disney, when you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you. You know, there's a thing as I encourage African Americans, I mean all people, but I know black boys have been the target of the criminal justice system. If you don't believe that, just Google the color of law, read it, read the Kerner Commission, do whatever you got to do to understand it. There's a scripture in the Bible, the King James Version. It's Isaiah 60:22, and it should get the same kind of applause as touchdown, home run, 3-point play. Isaiah 60:22. When the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen. One of my favorite preachers is T.D. Jakes, the Potter's House. He preaches with fire and brimstone. He doesn't say, when the Lord says, when the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen. He says, when the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen. I'm teaching young black kids that will listen, because sometimes you don't have access to that fire and brimstone type of influence that will help you. And I want young people to just have something to reflect on. We had some Hall of Fame inductees over the weekend. You know, I appreciate the great Tom Flores. He tried out in Canada, and he also tried out in the American Football League. He's from Sanger, California, and he is a 2-time winning Super Bowl champion with the Oakland Raiders. It is so important because he's kept out a long time. As a man of color to win a Super Bowl, they beat the Philadelphia Eagles, and they beat the Washington Redskins, which had the number 1 offense at that time. And he's just now in 2021 being elected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Their white coaches with 1 Super Bowl win, and some none, and are in the Hall of Fame already. Congratulations to Tom Flores. Legends for the Raiders, Tom Flores, Charles Woodson, took their rightful place, were officially inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame Sunday night. Now, Flores was presented for enshrinement by Raiders owner Mark Davis, the son of the late Al Davis. While Woodson chose his mother as his presenter, while on stage, both men shared through their speeches the moments that shaped them on and off the field to reach the point of their storied careers. Former players to members of the media, social media erupted in celebrating, and it really was a celebration. The two becoming immortalized in Canton. And when you think about it, I realized that Big C and I were talking about Tom Flores last year. While we were saying, what in the world is he not inducted yet? Why not? But Tom Flores said, I'm thrilled to be your teammate. Congratulations. Didn't I just open the show talking about teammates? You got to know who's on your team. Whether it's a husband and wife, who's on your team. Whether it's a boyfriend or girlfriend, who's on your team. Whether it's a lion protecting his cubs or a bear protecting their cubs. There are some spouses that will allow the snake to come into their own family to kill, steal, and destroy and make threats. They wouldn't allow you to do it to their family, but you'll let them do it to yours. What do they have on you that you're afraid to talk about? The dirt will come out in the wash. But Tom Flores said, as a man of color, so proud to have another Hispanic. Anthony Munoz, Hall of Fame. He played at USC, went to Muller High School in Cincinnati. Tony Gonzalez, he played down in Southern California. I don't want to say the wrong name, but I think it's Huntington Beach High School. But I might be wrong. But I know he went to Cal Berkeley. I was there at Tony Gonzalez's last basketball game at Cal. I think they were playing at Arizona State. I was there with Fox Sports doing the broadcast. And then to have Jim Plunkett, the great Jim Plunkett, played at Stanford in the Hall of Fame. Men of color. Took him a long time to get there. Is life fair for black and white Americans? According to Kernighan Mission, just read it and you Google it. You make the call. According to the color of law, read the book. You make the call. According to some white women who can call the police on a black man and the white police show up. And all the man was doing is saying, the lady doesn't have her dog on a leash and I'm afraid. A black man trying to sell a house, a realtor, to another black family. Police were called. They showed up and put the man in handcuffs, and he had to prove that he was a realtor. Heisman Trophy winner, Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Super Bowl champion, Hall of Famer. Congratulations, Charles Woodson. Does great work on and off the field. The Raiders, the great Charles Woodson doing his thing. I really appreciate, all the things that I've done. And I know football, sports brings people together. Good and bad. I played football with guys that were gang members, some Bloods and Crips, some skinheads. Some had all kind of issues. But our coach brought everybody together and said, we are one team. You may not like your teammate. They may not like you. But like in Top Gun, Val Kilmer said to Tom Cruise, whose side are you on? Whose side are you on? Who can you count on? Who's on your team? When you do wrong, usually if you just say, I'm sorry, I was wrong, it makes things a lot better. But to try to stage is what oftentimes I tell young black kids, dance with my father, Luther Vandross. Oftentimes people know, even if they say they love you, even if they say they're your best friend, even if they say, I love you, Charles, will you sleep with me? No one has to know but us. Even those people will turn on you. So you got to know who you are and where you stand, because it just may keep you safe and trust your gut. God is good. Isaiah 54:17, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Read that verse time and time again. That verse my mother used to bring my brother home from Vietnam. My oldest brother, one of the wisest men I know. Mother fasted and prayed. He came home. Isaiah 54:17. I have a sister. She prayed on that for my nephew in the Marines. And the Iraq War. Isaiah 54:17. She gave me that verse. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. He came home. Not everybody came home. They did. My father was in the Air Force. His grandmother prayed Isaiah 54:17. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. He came home. My father. I have pictures of him in his military jet. Fighter plane. I just want to tell everybody, you got to know who's on your team. Not everybody who says they love you do. Sometimes they only love you for the moment. But you got to love yourself, because you're the only person that will never leave you. Never. I mean, everybody has their own saying, and I just believe that if I can share with enough young people, especially young black boys like I was, when I went up to college, me and some of my black teammates, and one One was, he's a pastor now. We were trying to rent an apartment. The white man told us we don't have any openings. We're like, oh, but we saw the vacancy in the newspaper. We actually had newspapers back then. That's how old I am. We had newspapers back then. And the white man says, well, we don't have any openings. I'm so sorry. You know, just keep checking and maybe something will open up. And we're like, okay, well, the vacancy sign is still there. He said, yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to take it down, been so busy. It's like, how do we know that that same day some of our white teammates went down there even after we had inquired and they all got apartments? They were white, we were black. Some of those white boys were smoking dope, marijuana, cocaine, ecstasy, LSD. My partner Chris and I, we never did drugs. To this day, I've never smoked drugs or dope. And everybody who knows me knows that. I'm not grandstanding. But to that white man, the white teammates that smoked dope, cocaine, drugs, he gave them apartments. He told the black kids, we don't have any openings. That's why I say to my son, understand the footprints. It's all fair in love and war. We just got to know that. And so I want to always just share what I can, because sometimes people don't listen to Dance with My Father, Luther Vandross. They're too busy being cheered for touchdown, home run, three-point play. They're cheered for that. But it's about footprints. You can Google it in the Bible. The young man said, but Father, why have you forsaken me? And he said, young man, my precious, precious child, when you saw footprints in the sand, it was I who carried you. You're never alone, but you got to pray. Don't let people make you think that the most important thing is playing football or basketball or baseball. Because you have right now a lot of young black men are going to become fodder for these white institutions. Even though we have name, image, and likeness, these white coaches are going to go out there and put 7 figures in their bank accounts. And these black boys, if they can sell name, image, and likeness, will make some money too. And that's a fact. I just want people to keep in mind that everybody has their own opinions about things. But you gotta always know that God is with you, and don't let someone turn you just being a dumb jock. Because that's what they'll ask you. You play football? Man, you're big, strong, and fat. You play football? The guy was patting us on the back, on our shoulders, telling, man, I hope you guys have a great season this year. You know, go out and win a championship. And we're like, okay, well, thank you, sir. So we went looking for more apartments. The way God worked it out, I was able to have an apartment right across the street from the college. Because I'm a praying man, I come from a praying family. The apartment we were told we don't have any openings, that was about 2 miles away. How did I get there? Isaiah 54:17, my mother prayed, no weapon formed against me or my children shall prosper. I'm speaking the real facts. Sometimes a bear cub will protect their cubs, or a lion will protect their cubs more than a human being will protect a spouse. What a shame. Instead of just saying, I'm sorry. All spreading love and war, though. I want to just wish everybody that's out there trying to play sports, keep in mind that everybody has a teammate in life. They're either going to be for you or against you. It's amazing. I feel that I want to say something. You guys can look at it any way you want to. Troy Aikman, great Hall of Famer, came out of Henrietta, Oklahoma, played at Oklahoma, and then went to UCLA because he had a broken leg. And, you know, the coaches got together, Bo Switzer and Terry Donahue, made it possible for him to go to UCLA. Became an All-American, went under the Dallas Cowboys, 3 Super Bowls, Hall of Famer. Now a broadcaster. Troy Aikman spent his entire career playing for the Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? The great Jimmy Johnson. Love what Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones are doing. They're mending fences. They're saying we both were accountable. They both let something that was a good thing get destroyed because of ego. Like some relationships destroyed by ego and letting in enemies that have a record. But Troy Aikman spent his entire career playing for the Cowboys. It is important that I say that because everybody needs someone on their side. And you got to know who's on your side. You got to know who's on your side. It helps make life easier. But Dallas Cowboys Hall of Famer quarterback did not hold back when discussing his old team. Earlier this weekend, Aikman expressed some doubt regarding Dak Prescott's injury. You might want to Google that again if you misunderstand what I said. Troy Aikman expressed some doubt about Dak Prescott's injury, downplaying it, but I think when your franchise quarterback is missing, the amount of time he's missing, I tend to think is probably a little bit more significant than what they've said. So that's throwing shade on the Dallas Cowboys organization. Maybe because he wanted to buy the team or be owner of it or whatever, and Jerry Jones said no. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know, but I know everybody has their own thoughts about that. I keep as much as I can. I want to be real. The reason Big C Sports, and this is by Disney, Big C Sports nominated just over the weekend by Disney for an Espy Award in 2021. The only sports show in the universe. No teleprompters, no script writers, no producer, no plug in my ear. I don't have 7 people working at Chiron feeding me stats. My stats come by myself, my son Malcolm, and sometimes Big C. But I count on myself. I never miss a show. I work in my sleep. I'm telling these sponsors that are paying 7 figures to Big C Sports in 2021. I earned it. And all I ask you to do, put any of those broadcasters next to me, the way they do the Olympics. On your mark, get set, go! And let us run. And let us run down the track. No teleprompter, no script, no producer in our ear, nobody telling me what to do or say, no one calling in because I don't have content. I do it on my own, impromptu, extemporaneous. I got guys coming off vacation. They weren't working, they were drinking. Nothing wrong with drinking, as long as you drink responsibly. I work in my sleep. I work through my vacations. That's why I get this 7-figure contract in 2021. I don't care what anybody says. People say, so what? I know someone better than you. I know someone better than you. Yeah, everybody knows someone better. But I'm getting the 7 figures because I earn it. And I thank Disney Corporation for nominating Big C Sports for an Espy in 2021. You can Google it. I tell every young kid, you rise and shine. Don't matter what people say about you. Doesn't matter who's on your team. God's on your team. If God's for you, no one can be against you. You got to know that. Read that scripture when you go off to college. I'm not just talking to my son. I'm talking to everybody, even my daughter. If someone's going to accuse you of something, it's called equal time. That's what law enforcement says, equal time. They interview both sides, not just one. That's full of shenanigans. Letting rattlesnakes inside the family's home. How does that make sense? Whose side are you on? NFL football, the Detroit Lions, they ease the depth concerns in the secondary, signed veteran cornerback Nickel Roby Coleman. NFL training camp update, Deshaun Watson, Saquon Barkley returned, Lamar Jackson dealing with more questions about COVID. You know, a lot of athletes are saying they have their own opinions about COVID. Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson non-committal on vaccine after getting COVID for the 2nd time. I just say talk to your doctors. It's all fair labor. As I always say, my mama says rise and shine. Back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. And he would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, you rumble, young man, rumble. With all you've got to use, how can you lose? As my mom always says, I say, Big C, what are you looking forward to in this sports universe? I say, everyone. God says in Genesis 1:3, let there be light. Let the light shine in your life, that the dirt will come out in the wash. You can follow Big C Sports every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. When you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America, and Big C Sports has been voted for an Espy by Disney, the #1 sports show in the universe, according to the Olympic Committee in Tokyo, Japan. That's Big C Sports. I don't miss shows. I don't make excuses. I always rise and shine. My mama always says there should be no excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and ask for help. Because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as I always tell you, on every Big C Sports show, nominated for 2021 Espy's, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.